A government that prioritizes foreigners over their own citizens are, by all accounts, treasonous and illegitimate. It's just important that we start taking care of our own. And if we do that, I think Canada can thrive once again. And then when we're thriving, we can help the rest of the world.
And boom, we are live. What's up, everybody? Couple Casuals Podcast. I'm your host, Stefano. And guys, we got a good one for you guys today. My guest today is a fellow Canadian podcaster. He is the host of the Right Call podcast. And guys, he is using his voice to challenge the political narratives. And guys, today's episode is brought to you by Canada First. Secure your home with Canada's best home fortification. Visit them at canadafirst.com to learn more. And so with that being said, I want to welcome Elliot to the podcast. Welcome. Did you catch your breath?
Yeah, I know. I just walked from the airport. I am completely out of breath. But you know what? I think I'll be good in 3.5 minutes.
3.5 minutes, exactly. Well, I appreciate it. Here, put the microphone a little bit closer.
A little bit closer,
yeah. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming down. You flew down this morning from Montreal.
From Montreal, yeah, man.
Here to Toronto. I really, really appreciate you coming. I really appreciate you coming down to Toronto, aka New Delhi. I saw that in your story. That was very funny. So many things I want to talk to you about today, Elliot. Of course, we're going to talk about Toronto. We're going to talk about politics, some things that are happening in Canada, some interesting things I want to pick your brain on. I've been watching your pod a little bit here and there, and it's been really cool to see it. It does really well. You do really well unpacking ideas and challenging the political narrative. So I think it sets for a good stage today, man. I really appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you for all the glazing right here. Yes, I really do appreciate it, and I'm glad I'm here. I haven't been in Toronto in quite a while. I mean, I used to live here back in 2010 to 2012. I was a little bit more towards Eglinton and Don Mills. And my girlfriend at the time was at Seneca College. So.
Okay, so how long did you live here for?
A couple of years. Just long enough to get to know the city a little bit and realize that, and you guys are going to hate me for saying this, but it is my most hated city in the entire world.
It is. Okay, that's where we're going to start. Because it's interesting, Elliot. When people come on, right, like I had Maxime Bernier on, a couple of people that flew in or whatever, they come, and I always ask them, like, what are your thoughts on Toronto? Like, what are your thoughts coming in? Because everybody knows, it's no mystery, that Toronto has changed so much over the past several years. Like, you lived here, so I'm interested to see, how do you think it changed since when you lived here in 2010, 15 years ago, till now, and just what are your overall thoughts on Toronto now? Like, we can get into it. Don't worry, I got thick skin. And I'm from north of Toronto, so maybe Dean's going to get upset, but
So you're from Markham?
No, a little bit west from Markham, Vaughan, okay. Yeah, so
Vaughan,
just
Vaughan.
north of...
Well, that's where the Europeans are at. And you're Italian, right?
Yes,
there you go.
That is exactly... Yeah, you know, eh? You know. Well, a lot of Italians in Montreal, too.
Oh, yeah, big time. We have a neighborhood called St. Leonard. It's WAP Central. We love them, though. They're the best. Best restaurants, best food. Love all the Italians.
When they migrated, they came to Montreal. They came to Toronto.
Yeah.
That was like the bit... But we came here and we worked our fucking asses off. Hey,
God, yes, man. That's the thing. You guys are industrious. You're hard workers. You're good people. I mean, I love Italians.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
3 of my girlfriends were Italians too, so I don't know.
I got volumes.
I don't know, man. I got something going for them. But look, I've been here for a whole 30 minutes. I landed legit 30 minutes ago. I walked over here, and in the span of about 1.8 kilometers, I saw 5 homeless encampments, a pile of dog shit on the ground. But at least there were no orange cones. And that's the one thing in Montreal that we have is just fucking construction everywhere. By the way, I can swear, right?
Yeah, of course. Good. Here too, though. Eh? We got lots
but it's not as bad. I mean, you guys have traffic, the DVP, Don Valley Parkway, it's still called that.
Down Valley Parking Lot.
Parking lot, there you go. Yeah. But no orange cones. For us, it's funny. There's my father had a business associate that flew into Montreal something like 25 years ago, right? And he came in, and there was a bunch of construction around the airport. And he flew back in a couple of years ago. My father went to go pick him up at the airport too. And as they were driving off, the same cones, the same construction, still there.
How many years?
Oh, it's 20 years.
That's crazy.
It's horrible. Quebec is a shit show.
Why is this? What's the delay?
It's corruption.
Corruption.
There's corruption. There's a lot of it. Just government oversight. Like, I mean, at one point, they were trying to build an overpass over a railway section to lead to the airport. A brand new overpass from a highway all the way to the airport. Like, amazing. And they started building the overpass. They stopped short of crossing the railway because it turns out they did not have building rights over the railway. That lasted for almost a decade. It went to court and everything. So you just have there like a semi-finished overpass just waiting. That's Montreal.
That's terrible, man. Yeah. There's a serious bureaucracy that stops the building permits and things. My buddy up in Barrie, a little bit north, is trying to build some. He's an investor and he builds as well, and he's having the hardest time dealing with those people, man. Like they charge you every time you insert the request to build or these registration forms, $5,000, $10,000. Oh no, you got to change this. It's just amazing to see like just how much the bureaucracy is at the federal level and the municipal level, and of course provincial level too.
Of course, right? Well, when you consider it, look, we have a housing crisis in Canada, right? And when you consider that building a new house, something like 35% of the cost of a home is development charge. You just realize it's insane. Taxes, development charge, fees, you name it. It's like, what the hell? Over a third of the price of a home just goes to the government.
Imagine if that was taken off, how much more affordable for you. But we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Staying on Toronto and Montreal. Well, I want to know, what's the biggest difference in your opinion? You used to live in both, right? And we used to go to Montreal, Elliot, and we used to go party because we could drink earlier and stuff.
Of course.
So when you're younger, growing up, Montreal was like, we wanted to go there. We were looking forward to going there. It was always a good time.
It's a little bit of a wild place.
Yes.
It can be. It can be. Yeah.
So like now I haven't been there in a while. I'd like to come back for sure. But what do you think the biggest difference is?
Well, it's the same thing as it was back then. When I moved here, there was the first thing that came to my mind, it feels sterile here. It feels like there's no soul. There's no life. Things close at 2 a.m., like especially the nightlife back in the day when I was younger. Now I'm a granny. I don't go out anymore, but I'm a geriatric. But back then, 2 a.m., things closed. The LCBO, like you can only buy booze at the LCBO, the beer store. It's like very limited.
Now it's changed a little bit.
Oh, it's changed?
Yeah,
okay.
in the grocery stores you can.
Well, that was at Quebec,
that wasn't,
right?
Yeah, that wasn't the case always. But that's changed.
But it just feels like a sterile city. There's a lack of soul. And the one thing I said then, and that's only gotten worse since, is I used to say it feels cliquey. It feels like people form these little groups, little cliques. They don't interact. They don't mingle. In Montreal and in Quebec, we have an expression that says joie de vivre, right? We're very pleasant. We love to have fun. And you could go out any given night of the week by yourself, and you will make friends. You will be included in groups. We're like super social, super friendly. It doesn't matter if you speak French or English. Like, we will welcome you in.
Okay.
But you come here, and it just feels like little groups of people that don't socialize, they don't mingle. And back then, I didn't understand why. I was like 20, 21 years old. I was like, why is that? Today, I feel is just due to the sheer amount of immigration. I mean, it creates these little cultural clashes, these little tribes within the greater city of Toronto, and people just stay within their tribes. That's what humans are. We're tribal animals. We like to stay with our kind, with our like-minded individuals. We don't like to step out. And I think that probably contributes to it a little bit. So that's the biggest difference. And Montreal is not as bad yet.
So Montreal's not like that as much. But immigration is pretty high in Montreal too, isn't it?
It's huge, but I mean, when you consider Toronto is the most multicultural city in the entire world, right? I think it's something like, I was reading statistics, 48% of people in Toronto are foreign born.
That's, half.
Nearly half. And 56% of people in Toronto identify as a minority, which, by the way, is a paradox in itself, right? I mean, how can you be more than half and yet consider yourself a minority? You're the majority, but regardless. So Toronto, most multicultural city in the entire world. And I feel like, I don't know, to me, when I'm here, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but it just doesn't feel like it works. It just feels like people are isolated by themselves. They don't mingle, they don't talk, they don't communicate. Maybe it's changed. Maybe that was like that only like 10, 15 years ago, but that's invite you to come to Montreal, you'll see the difference night and day. Yeah,
you know what? There is a sense of tribalness there, and humans are fundamentally tribal, but yeah, I feel it's like somewhat like in high school, high school where you have, I love Toronto. I have this part of me, like, I didn't live here. I never lived here. I always would come here to go for dinners, events, party and stuff. So and then the sports teams, of course, you got to go for your city, right? The Jays are doing well right now. I don't watch baseball, but go Jays.
At least the Jays are going.
You know what I mean?
Not the Leafs, but at least the Jays.
I know. Maybe one day. But you support and you have the passion for the city. So many people that came out of here, Drake, Justin Bieber, these guys. There's a fundamental sense of pride there. So it really saddens me to see the current state of Toronto.
Yeah.
I don't want to just sit here and just bash Toronto. I want to hopefully have an optimistic, like some form of optimism that one day it won't be like this. But the reality is, Elliot, right now, you're right. There is a really sense of weariness and unsafe. I used to be able to finish the bar and go out and just roam the streets. You can't do that now. The 55% increase in violent crime across the board. Home invasions are on the rise. Shootings are on the rise. Sexual assaults are on the rise. Homelessness is going significantly increasing. The real estate market is very strange. How do you think we got here?
Oh God, I think it's many decades of just wrong decisions over and over and over again.
Like policy-wise?
Yeah, policy-wise. It's also the politicians. I mean, I love to watch the mayor of Toronto, right? Chow. God, I love her. She's amazing in the most sarcastic way. I think there's something wrong. I don't know. I've been wrestling with this idea, but I think there's something fundamentally insidious about foreign-born nationals that become politicians in a country.
Interesting.
I mean, she was born in Hong Kong, right? Okay, no issues with that. No issues that she immigrated here, but it's always going to cast a little doubt of where is the allegiance? Where does it really lie? I mean, in the US, for example, you cannot become the president unless you're a natural-born citizen. You can run for office anywhere else, but they have this like limitation. They want you to really be patriotic, to really feel the sense of, again, allegiance to your country. But here, I mean, you look at Parliament right now in Canada as well, same thing. How many of them were not born in Canada? And it's not to say they're bad people, but it's just like, is the ideology, is the idea, is the ideals really to put Canada first? Or is it a little bit like, you know what? I got some people back home that I want to, help as well.
Very interesting.
I don't know. And then there's the policies as well. It's just, like it or not, if you increase your population by something like an order of 20% in 15, 20 years, you're bound to have an issue. I mean, the infrastructure is not set up to be able to handle that, right?
100%.
Our roads, our hospitals, our schools, it just makes no sense. No country can withstand that much influx that quickly. But I mean, we're between a rock and a hard place because our birth rate is super low, and it makes it so that like our society cannot sustain itself. So we must import people, and that's fine in itself. But there's a threshold, there's a limit. And another idea I've been wrestling with recently is just, why don't we take the approach of like hunters, for example? I used to hunt. And the conservation officers, they will keep tabs on the population of deers every year to make sure it's in a healthy, sustainable population. If there's too little, well, you're not allowed to hunt, or at least they'll restrict the amounts of permits. If there's too many, however, they'll issue more permits in order to cull, the herd. But without culling people, obviously I'm not calling for that at all. What I'm saying, however, is why don't we take a similar approach? We look at what's the sustainable birth rate for civilization, which is 2.11 kids per woman. And at the end of the year, we look, where are we at with the local native population? Are we at 1.4, 1.5, 1.6? And then whatever the deficit is, that should be the amount of permanent residency or visas that are issued internationally to attract people.
I hear what you're saying.
We should be keeping it at a sustainable rate because it serves everyone. Last time I was in Toronto, actually, I was going to the Argos game, and I was in the Uber, and it was an Indian driver, and I was just chit-chatting with him, saying, hey, how do you like Toronto? How long have you been here? He was here for a couple of years, and he told me he's getting the hell out of here. And I said, why? He's like, I've been lied to. I'm an engineer back in India, and I came here, and nothing is recognized. I'm driving Ubers. I'm making pennies on the dollar. I thought I'd be making more money. The cost of living is insanely high. He felt cheated. So now you're stuck with the native population that feels betrayed, that feels unheard, that feels disenfranchised. And you have the immigrants that come here that feel left to their own device, lied to, cheated. It's a lose-lose on both sides.
Yeah, you are seeing that.
If someone was to break into my house, honestly, I wouldn't know what to do. That's something I hear often. And my response, well, don't let them break in. I'm Chad, former RCMP. Did you know that there's an average of 6 home invasions in the Greater Toronto Area daily? At Canada First, we deliver a home defense audit. We find your weak points and we show you how to prevent break-ins. We are here to fortify your home and stop intruders before they even try. Protect your home and what matters most with Canada First. Book your free home defense audit now.
Why do you think we are like? That's a good point. 2 points there that I really liked is the question of the allegiance from the political leader who's born somewhere else. That is something to, that's not a strange observation. I think there's real weight to that. There's that, and then also why aren't people having kids? Like the decline, you're right. You're 100% right because in other parts around the world, like the Middle East, for example, they're having kids.
Oh yeah.
Like what are we missing in the West that we're not? Is it a faith thing? Is it the nuclear families being attacked by our media, our politicians, that it's sort of breaking the home and then altering the decisions to have families? Is it the economics that people just cannot financially have children? What's your assessment of it? What do you think?
I think you've kind of hit the nail on all of it. I don't think it's a single variable.
Right.
I think it's a multivariable issue. First of all, there's been a demonization of families now
That's right.
for decades,
Yep.
right? Well, actually, let's take a step back. There used to be 3 competing authority figures within a society. There was the family unit, there was the church or religion, and there was the government. Now, let's agree that governments want to govern more, and they're always kind of clawing for more power. I feel, and I cannot obviously claim that it is righteous or exactly what happened, but I feel the government slowly demonized the other 2 power structures in order to centralize their authority. So we're told that families are not important. Wait until you have kids. Prioritize your career.
That's right.
Women should not aspire to be mothers. That's demeaning and below themselves. And instead, they should just aim to be independent. So we're destroying the whole family unit, which is a form of authority, competing with the state. Then the church. I mean, religion is at an all-time low in Canada. Nobody goes to church, or other religions. We're just told, you know what? It's a crazy man in the sky. We're stupid for it. We're demonized whenever we want to worship. I'm not someone who's personally big on religion, but I think the values are immeasurable.
Which is fair.
It is incredible, and I think society was doing better when we had this religious backing, when we had these values being espoused. But the church was also a competing authority figure. So you remove these things, and all of a sudden you have a all-powerful, all-knowing government. And then from there, you don't have families anymore. Slowly but surely, through horrible economic policies and also, the money printer, inflation, you slowly erode people's purchasing power, forcing them to be stuck perpetually on this hamster wheel. They got to work more and work harder and longer hours. And on top of that, now you cannot have just one income to support a family.
That's a good point.
Right? I mean, the American dream was always a blue-collar job. Uneducated blue-collar worker could make enough money to support a family of 4, total family of 4, have a house and a car. It was doable. That was what everyone aspired to do. Nowadays, it's impossible. You need 2 income to sustain a family, unless you're in the top 1% of the 1%, but that is not sustainable for most people. You have a good job, that's still not enough. So people are not inside the home. People are stressed out. They're burnt out. They don't want to have kids. It's just too much work. And on top of that, there's this whole narrative of like, you know what, being a mother or being a father, the amount of times that we watch movies or TV shows and parents are always like, I wish I didn't have kids, or these little snot eaters. It's always vilifying the family. Well, eventually that erodes, and that affects people. So I think that's another big point too.
Yeah, I think that's well said. You see a very interesting decline in the Western world on people not able to have kids. And I think you articulated well. There is a financial restraints. It's a calculated effort by the force in itself that we succumb to. I don't know exactly where it's going to end up. I hope it changes. But you look at areas like Toronto, and you're right. Like, what'd you say, 48%?
48% are foreign born.
Like that's very interesting. That's very interesting. I think Maxime Bernier said to me when he was on the podcast, I might not quote him specifically, but last year, 97% of our increase in population was due to mass immigration.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't, that's very, very strange. And in Toronto, we don't have the Canadian that's sort of here and coming up. It's more people coming in, which we'll talk about mass immigration soon. But how much of this is as a consequence of municipal government, provincial government, or federal government? Is a little bit of everybody? You look at a city, we'll stick on Toronto. Yeah. You look at where it is and what's happening. How much is that as the account of the municipal government or the provincial government or the federal government?
Well, ultimately, immigration is a federal jurisdiction.
That's right.
Unless you're in Quebec. We have our own Ministry of Immigration.
Is that how it works?
We do. We're a special province. We have our own Department of Immigration, so we do all the work, but we still have to send it to Ottawa to get a rubber stamp because it's still their prerogative. But in practice, they just accept whatever we do. But basically, we pay twice the taxes for that. I mean, provincially, we pay for Department of Immigration. Federally, we pay for Department of Immigration. It's kind of stupid. But that was back in the days when we thought we'd be our own country, our own nation, of course, which I'm completely opposed. But regardless, I think it's a little bit of a collusion of all of it. I mean, again, economically, we're stagnating. And the best way to boost economic numbers is through, again, mass migration, because it makes it look like the GDP is booming. Now, when you look at the GDP per capita and you account for, the real GDP per capita, I should say, well, we're stagnating or even sometimes declining by a fraction of a percentage. But most people don't understand that. The reality is that the common individual does not understand even basic economics. And it's not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're never taught any of that in school.
No.
I mean, another thing we're not taught in school is our charter rights, is civics. It's understanding the system, the constitution, how the country came about, the ethos that we have. We're never taught that. So it goes way above people's head. You can shout the number all you want. They don't understand. For them, it's just like, oh, well, they told me the economy is doing better. So there's a federal issue. There's a provincial too. I mean, the provincial government, obviously, there's a bunch of, they're collecting taxes too. And I think there's also an element of votes. If for some reason, and that I cannot tell you why, maybe it's just well, this government helped me come to Canada, I'm going to support them. But it feels like it's harvesting votes, right? You see it too in the US. Most immigrants that, move to the US end up voting Democrats, right? So to the left. And I feel like it's the exact same thing here. Most, not all, but most immigrants, first or even second generation immigrants in Canada vote Liberal. I wonder why. I don't have the answer as to why. But I mean, if you're a government and you want to hold on to power, it's a conflict of interest there.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? A little bit, and just to, and I guess on that note, but I mean, it's like when Trudeau got elected back in 2015, he said that he got elected on, I will reform the voting system, right? I will implement proportional representation, for example. Well, he didn't, and there's a good reason why. That would not benefit the Liberal. Right now, the first past the post system is overly beneficial to the Liberal Party. Why change it?
Which that's what I want to talk about next. Lastly here on Olivia Chow, because you raised some good points on Olivia Chow and her allegiance and possibility to outside of Canada. And just, I look at her, I'm like, how the hell did Toronto people vote, the Toronto residents vote for her? Because now, as it is present day, 64% of Toronto residents feel that the city is heading in the wrong direction.
Right.
99.83% of all complaints that come to Olivia Chow in her office are completely ignored. That's an insane metric that I wanted to share there.
Wild.
But I look at it and I'm like, okay, maybe this is to your point, that a lot of the people here are very diverse and they look at her as the representation of that, because I look at her as a leader and I'm like, what are you voting for? She visibly looks strange to me, like something's going on.
Oh man, the video she posted recently, the reel there that went around where she's like throwing a baseball bat, fucking cringe, man.
It was funny, but it's like, what is happening here? This is the leader of Toronto. I miss Rob Ford.
Oh, I miss this guy.
I miss Rob Ford. Yeah, he may smoke crack now and again, but he was for the people.
He was for the people. There's two things I miss. Rob Ford and his crack freaking
Jamaican accents.
Oh man, it's just crack fueled debauchery. That was amazing. And I also miss the good old boring federal politics of like Harper. Shit was boring back then. It was fine. That's what I miss now. Just the stability of boringness.
Might have been best then, eh? That was before I got interested in politics, but we'll talk about that too. But it might have been the country, like obviously the Liberals critique him and some things that he's done, but I think it was like, by the sounds of it, every time I hear people talk about it, it sounded like Canada was in a pretty good place back then, man.
Yeah, it was. I still remember the day that Trudeau got elected in 2015. I woke up right before going to the office, and I look at the news, and I'm like, Liberals won, and I'm like, fuck, it's going to be a rough 4-ish years. Like, I told myself it's going to be a rough 4-ish years.
Oh, if you only knew, Elliot.
Oh, dude,
that it was going to be 10 years.
Oh, and it was considerably worse than I could have ever imagined. It went way further down the shitter than I could have ever fathomed. But, about Olivia Chow, I think you hit the nail again on the head. I think it has to do with the fact that people, again, being tribal, will vote for whoever they feel represents them, whoever they can relate to. It's the same reason why, and maybe it's touchy as hell to talk about it, but you look at Irina, the Ukrainian girl that got stabbed in
the U.S.
North Carolina, right?
Specifically, yeah.
And there's something that just jumped at me when I looked at the attacker. Obviously, was a black individual, but all the bystanders were all black individuals as well. And you had this one little white girl, and they all stared at her as she bled to death. They did nothing. They did not render aid. Some guy took his phone out and recorded it, and I just wonder, is it due to the fact that since you don't relate to that person, you don't see them within your tribe, you don't have this empathy to help them? It's a little bit the same way as like when you walk in the street, and this is a human psychological effect, and this is why like it's tough to talk about, because people are really quick to call and to say this is racist. But if you walk next to a homeless person in the street begging for money, the odds that you will give him money are slim to none. And they've done an experiment on that. They took a guy, they dressed him as a hobo, and he panhandled for like an hour and got like peanuts. Then they dressed him up in a suit, gave him a phone, talking loud on a cell phone like he's an important guy, and he would stop people, say, "Hey, sorry, I'm short a toonie to grab the bus. Do you have spare change?" He collected something like $50 in an hour. People are more likely to give money to someone they see as their same kind of status and level, right? He was well-dressed individual, not poor, not broke, not below in terms of social status. So I wonder, is that the same thing with culture? You know, when we look at people that are not like us, do we still have the same human reaction of, hey, I need to help? Because if it was your family member, you'd help.
Yes,
if it was your
sure.
friend, you'd help. If it was someone close to you, you'd help.
I wonder how much of that is just fundamental fear. Like, I feel like most people, and this is the problem with home invasions too, because most people have never gotten punched in the face, for example. They will not know what to do in a very high intense situation. But I think there's a level of troubleness, especially in the States in some parts, it's very divisive. Like in New York, I feel it's like that. And they're in a very big treat if they get Mamdani or whatever that guy's name is. That's a whole other conversation. But I feel like it is very tribal in some senses. But I'd like to think that hopefully we can come to the point where regardless, we can just fucking help each other if we need to help each other.
It should be.
And that's the way it should be, right?
Yeah, and there's also a little bit of an effect of the bystander effect, right? The more people are around you, the less likely someone is to actually intervene. So it could also be that. I'm just speculating. But no, the right thing to do is always to help. It's be a good Samaritan. Render help to someone who needs it, especially someone who's bleeding.
That was a terrible situation. That was and the media barely covered it. If the ethnic roles were reversed, there would definitely have got media coverage, which everybody knows about that.
Yeah.
But it's just very sad to see. And just lastly here on the Toronto thing, I will tie a bow on it. It has big influence on a national level with elections too. And this is where we'll sort of get into mass immigration. But you look at somewhere like Toronto, and there's a lot of ridings. We talked about the parliamentary system, which is maybe we can discuss that. There's a lot of ridings. In Ontario, there's 122. In Toronto, there's 25. So it's quite a bit of significance to that 122. Toronto has pretty big, strong, and this is a liberal stronghold.
Yeah.
So it's, to your point, like a lot of immigration comes here and they tend to vote liberal. Yeah. Do you think we should look at the parliamentary system? Because can the Conservatives ever, or any opposition to the Liberals, get the majority government if they don't win Toronto, if they don't win these cities with all these seats?
They're in a tough place because they're not in government right now, so they don't have the power to make a difference, right? Again, it's like, why would you shoot yourself in the foot? If you're a liberal government, why would you not want to hold on to power? And this is what's fucked up. I mean, ultimately, politicians are supposed to put the well-being of the nation first and foremost. But we know that's not what happens. People are corruptible. Power does corrupt you, and you want to hold on to it. It's a job. I mean, look, we saw the last election how Jagmeet basically gave confidence to the Liberal Party just in order to get his freaking pension. People are selfish. You know, inherently humans are flawed that way. So will the system ever change? We could have a better system. The system right now is clearly not fair or democratic. I mean, we have a government with something like 30 or 35% of the voices. That's not democracy. But again, I don't think it's going to change. There's no incentive for it to change unless people get up and actually get involved. But again, you know, the one flaw Canadians have is the apathy we have. And I guess it's just because people maybe feel disenfranchised. Like whenever they try to get up, like nothing gets heard, nothing gets done. Maybe it's just the fact that they're so preoccupied now with just barely surviving and scraping by that they just don't have the energy to get involved. But this apathy towards the political system makes it so that all that stuff will continue to happen. Nothing will change.
Yeah, we need change of leadership for sure. But with the way it's set up, it's very difficult, Elliot. It's very difficult. Like Toronto to have 25 seats, and there's mostly immigration here that is voting left. Yeah, is very challenging. Like just on immigration in a general standpoint, like our systems are completely overwhelmed. The healthcare system, people are turning back in lineups. The infrastructure can't handle it. Traffic in Toronto is insane, not to mention everything else. The housing market is completely destroyed. It's unbelievable. The labor market's affected. Crime is high. We don't have enough police to manage the amount of people that are coming in. On a very basic level, how do you think the immigration system got so broken? Was it good under Harper? Was it worse now? Like, what do you think has happened?
Well, Canada used to be world-renowned for having probably one of the best immigration systems in the world. We used to be on a point-based system. We used to want the best immigrants to develop the nation. And under Trudeau since 2015, we scrapped that. We've just kind of opened the floodgates. We don't work on a point system anymore. So much so that, I mean, there's footage of politicians in US Congress talking about how good the Canadian system was. And I think it worked. I need to say, I'm not against immigration. I want the best people to come to Canada. I want Canada to be the best country ever. And that requires the best people. I liken it to hockey. right? I used to play hockey. I played for 15 years, made a couple bucks off of it. And back then, you know, the scouts would go and get the best players from around. And the guys on the team were never like, oh, I don't want this guy to come. He's a superstar. He's going to make me look back. No, he's going to be on a team. We're going to win. We win as a team, we lose as a team. Well, same with the nation. Look, even I shit a lot on Carney, especially on my podcast and the videos I make. But the reality is, if Carney wins, Canada wins, I'm happy. I just want the best.
That's fair.
So, I mean, in terms of immigration, Canada used to also select a lot of Western values in terms of the people they would go get. It was a lot of Europeans. I mean, Italians, Irish, Polish. There's a fundamental essence. There's a canon that holds the West together through religion, through shared history, through certain ethos and values. It doesn't matter if you come from Poland and you eat pierogies, or you're Italian and you like pizza. You still value the same thing. You understand the core foundation of the society. But I think our biggest issue now is that we import people that come from cultures that are fundamentally at odds with Canadian values. Not to say they're worse. The cultures are not worse. I'm not the guy that can say whether a culture is better or worse. That ain't my place. And guess what? I don't think there's such a thing.
But there's an integration issue, you feel?
Oh, well, absolutely. There's an integration issue. I mean, again, you don't have to... Look, I went to Ottawa a couple of years ago for Canada Day. And I thought it'd be the best place to celebrate Canada Day. Dude, I was the only white guy on fucking Parliament Hill. Not to say this, but like I looked around, I didn't recognize Canada anymore. And there was no atmosphere, there was no vibe, there was no pride, there's no celebration, there's no sense of belonging. It's like flags now are being, like, you raise a flag, you're being called a freaking far-right nationalist. There's just nothing. You go to the U.S., it's the first thing you see right away, the amount of flags that are flying.
In the front of people's homes, there's a lot of pride that runs through.
There's pride.
There. Yeah.
There's no pride here. I see more Ukrainian flags. I see more... One thing I do love, Italians love to put their little flag on the cars, right? On every car, it's but that's cool. Again, that's the pride. But that pride right there, why can Canada have that?
Yeah, I hear you.
It's not there anymore.
I hear you.
And so no, of course there's an issue with integration. And you see it even more in Quebec, because in Quebec, again, since we have our own Department of Immigration, we select for French speakers, or at least we give them 6 months. We'll pay for all the courses, but you have 6 months from the date you enter to become fluent to a certain level in French. And the reality is, you can't speak French in Montreal anymore. Nobody speaks French. It's all English. Not that I have an issue. English is the most important language in the world. And you know what? I learned to speak it. But I mean, Quebec, culturally, is a French province. And we want people to continue to speak that language, and we don't. So just there, in terms of integration, there's an issue. Now, you look at the rest of Canada, it's the same thing. You go to schools now are foregoing celebrating Christmas, or even saying Merry Christmas, because you have to be inclusive of all people. What the fuck? Christmas here, you're allowed to celebrate what you want. That's inclusivity. Allowed to celebrate what you want.
Yes.
But this is us.
But don't make us be quiet for the, yeah.
Twist it around. If you go to, does any Canadian expect a foreign nation, if they were to go there, to bend over for their being? If I went to Saudi Arabia and started preaching the word of Christ and saying, hey, I want to celebrate Christmas, and there should be, Christmas trees on the street, Santa's coming tonight, what do you think would happen to me?
They wouldn't accept it.
Ain't the place for it. And that's fair. It's fair. Ain't a place for it. It's just the fact that we keep hiding ourselves and hiding our own culture in order to not offend. And this whole not offending all the time is being used against us.
For sure. Yeah. And it's a great point. And a lot of the time when the problem with the immigration is like you said, the numbers are too much. Yeah. We need to do it incrementally, and assessment of who's coming in to the best value to contribute to Absolutely. Canada. That's the main thing that we need to focus on. But everybody comes to Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver. So those areas are becoming so populated with newcomers that the infrastructure can't keep up. The voting sways to a certain left, or what you would believe, because there's government programs and dependency that, this is how I got here, and this is what I'll remember, and then I'll pledge allegiance to this party for the rest of my life. So there's that sense of possibility of importing voters. I know there definitely were doing that in the States to a certain extent. I don't see how they wouldn't want to be doing the same thing here in Canada. And I think that's what we see. But I wonder if it's a calculated effort.
That's where I can only speculate. I don't have tangible proof. All I know is that, one thing that's always jumped at me is how the left, whether it's the NDP or the Liberals, it's the party of nice promises, right? It's the party of big words. Even Carney just had his pre-budget speech recently, and there's no substance to what he said. It's just like, we're going to make drastic changes. It's going to be generational investments. And it's just fluff. And if you don't have the wherewithal, if you haven't been here long enough, you don't have this cultural root to the country, you don't understand its history, you don't understand the past governments that have promised shit and never delivered, all the struggles we've had in the past, all the bad moves and mistakes we've made, and all the good ones we've also accomplished, you don't have this benchmark to take in this information and be like, that just sounds like BS. I'm not going to vote for that. No, it just sounds really good. And a lot of the people that we import come from countries sometimes that are disenfranchised. They're third world countries. They're not used to having a government that somewhat functions, a government that actually is established, that operates. So they listen to this and they think, well, they're promising all that. It must be true. And they keep voting for it. That's where I think it is. Conservatives are much less likely to make frivolous claims if they can't back it up. And that's one thing whenever I talk about a topic, I hate speculating. I like to come up with facts and data, because if I speculate, I'm no better than anyone else. Sure, it's fun as a thought experiment once in a while, but if I don't know something, I'll just tell you flat out, I don't know, and I'm okay with that. And I feel on the right, people are more open to saying, I don't know, or I'm not sure. Whereas the left will never,
They'll
ever.
just dig the hole deeper.
Oh, they will.
Yeah.
And there's like this cognitive dissonance as well in a lot of ways. You see paradoxes all the time, like very pro-feminist, but yet will support certain cultures and ideologies that are super anti-feminist.
Yes.
They are, anti-gun, like super anti-gun, let's confiscate everything, but also let's defund the police. It's like, you don't need guns because we have police services, but then you want to defund the police. Just all these paradoxes that make no sense, but to them, as long as they're told what to think, it's all good. Words matter.
And I think people need to see through that. And I don't know if they do, but it's a good point. They sell you the dream, so to speak.
They're great at selling the dream. And the liberals too, and that's one thing I got to give it to them. They're really good at politics. God, they're good.
Well, you see what happened in the last election, which we'll talk about shortly. But lastly here on immigration, I feel that Canada offers certain programs and incentives to come here. Do you think that people are taking advantage of Canada and the systems and what we offer? Like, I've heard stories of people coming here to have their baby and then they leave, for the free healthcare. These types of things. It's very, because that's the taxpayers' money. It's very interesting to see how that unfolds. And then with that, there's the visa mills too, which I want to ask you about. So are people taking advantage of Canada, and what is the visa mills and kind of what's been happening there?
Yeah, those tether babies. Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. I mean, take any given VPN, put yourself to a location that Canada likes to import people, and go on social media and start seeing ads. You'll start seeing ads of agencies selling you the Canadian dream. It's a one-stop shop. They will take care of you it's turnkey solution from A to Z until you're here. They'll take care of everything. They sell it to you. They market it. So visa mills, it's a big thing in Canada. Effectively, they're educational institutions whose pretty much sole purpose is to issue visas or aid and abet people.
Who runs these things?
Honestly, they tend to be foreigners. They're registered as educational institutions, but they hardly offer any education. The sole purpose is you register there, you get issued a study permit or a study visa, and you come to Canada. You attend the classes, but the classes have little to no education value, but it doesn't matter. You're not really after the diploma to begin with. Now, why would people do that? Well, again, if it's catered specifically to issuing a visa, the process is very streamlined and easy. They take care of it for you, as a matter of fact. It's also much cheaper than attending an actual accredited education institution like a college or university, University of Toronto, McGill University, whatever. Much cheaper through these visa mills. And then on top of that, when you get a study permit, a study visa, a school visa, you also get the right to work part-time. So they come here, they start working part-time. They take a lot of the jobs, the starter jobs, away from the youth over here. And the youth unemployment rate, by the way, is the highest ever. I think we're at like 24% right now. That means a quarter of people under the age of 25 are unemployed. That's insane, because that's a failure to start in your life. And that trickles down later on.
That's 100% right.
It takes longer to purchase a property. It takes longer to start a family. It takes longer to make money, save up for retirement. Your self-esteem gets shut down. You think you're useless. But you know what? People are not worse today. in the sense that they're as, if not more skillful than they were before. It's truly their government that's failed them. But yeah, so these foreign students come here as international students, and they just clog up the system, and they're only here for visas, purely for visas. And when you consider the fact, I think it's something like roughly 19 or 20% of post-secondary students are international students. We're the highest in the world in terms of per student basis for international students. And we're only second to the US in terms of absolute number. But keep in mind, the US is also 10 times our population,
yes,
right?
Exactly, yeah.
So it's over 1 million international students in Canada. It's wild. It's insane.
That is insane. And how much of this is, so you mentioned the unemployment rate, this is really affecting the average everyday Canadian, right? Because it's intervening with their prosperity, with their opportunities. How is this happening? How is the government not involved? How is this not shut down? Because there's obviously a form of corruption in there. There's something there. Why are we allowing that to happen? Why not allow immigration and these types of programs, but in a legitimate way? It feels like they're being exploited.
Oh, it is being exploited, and it is illegal. And the government does shut down a few mills here and there, a few of those fake schools, if you wish. But I mean, more pop up left and right, and the government just doesn't have the manpower, oddly enough, or the capacity to enforce it. Plus, there's a lot of lobbying for it to continue, because guess what? There's a lot of money to be made. And it leads also to some really weird situations when you have international students that come here on a visa. They're not permanent residents, they're not citizens. And the government starts cracking down, and you see these foreign students protesting in the street.
I saw it, yeah.
And it's like, whoa, dude, you're a guest in our country. You're a fucking guest. You have no right to protest. Like, how messed up is that? You go to a foreign country and you try to lobby the government to change.
What do they want? Permanent citizenship?
Well, they want a path to permanent residency and citizenship. It's like, again, it's the sense of entitlement. You make them feel so special with all these privileges. People start growing entitled. I mean, I would never have the audacity to go to another country and start telling them, you need to change the laws to cater to me. What the fuck? I made the choice to go to your country. You know,
so they go to these schools, they get the education, and then are they placed in the workplace, or what happens?
But once they graduate, yeah, that's the thing. So once they graduate, it leads oftentimes to a work permit, or at least some form of long-term residency permit in Canada. They're truly, the mills is the gateway, it's the gateway to being able to stay here. And oftentimes these mills are run indeed by foreign nationals who have very deep ties back in their home country, and they cater, they market to a very specific demographic.
So there's a calculated effort to bring them in.
For sure. And all you have to do is look at the enrollment, the people in the classes, basically. There's no locals. It doesn't cater at all to a local population. So the entire business model is just selling visas effectively through a legal sort of loophole-ish that's tolerated and not. Then there's also lobbying on the other side, because the amount of, for example, infrastructure that creates secondary markets around it. For example, landlords, especially in Toronto, that run these student houses, they cram 15 people to like a 3-bedroom house. It's insane. There's mattresses on the ground. There's so much money for them to be made. But these people also lobby, and they have a good amount of change, and they push and they lobby, and they don't want the rules to change. They need these students to keep coming in.
It all comes down to the dollar, doesn't it? Yeah. They
oftentimes, yeah.
And politics too, which I kind of want to ask you now too. I feel that there is a certain part of the populace that is not voting or not politically engaged. I want to ask you, when did you start paying attention to politics? And then also, do you think it's important for people to stay politically engaged?
I think it's the most important thing there is. I mean, ultimately, so much depends. Your day-to-day life depends on the decisions that are made above you. Now, don't get me wrong. You have agency over yourself and your community, your family. That's the first line of defense. You need to focus on that. But ultimately, again, like I said, I think the biggest threat to Canada is the apathy the population has. The voter turnout ain't that high. People are just disenfranchised or disengaged because they feel like their voice is never being heard. I got involved. I remember when I was 17 years old, there was an election. The NDP was running. It was Jack Layton as the leader of the NDP. And I remember being like 16, 17 and thinking, I like that guy. I'd vote for him if I could. I was shy of being 18 years old. But soon enough, as soon as I had the right to vote, I started kind of looking. I like to inform myself. I come from a background, like I said, of hockey. And in hockey, you're taught one important thing, especially if you play at a higher level, and it's extreme accountability. If you fuck up, it's your fault. And your entire future is in your hands. You can make it or break it. It's up to you. And a team can overcome the odds. It's up to you guys to take ownership and do what's right. So I started looking at the political platforms, and right away, when I hear someone just giving things away or making promises, I think, do I really want someone to give me things for free? I want to earn it. But most importantly, I guess one of my core values is freedom. And freedom means risk. I want to be free to fuck up. I want to be free to make my mistakes. I also want to be free to choose what's best for me. You know, I think, you know, ultimately freedom means that you're responsible for your happiness and for where you end up in life. And that's what I want. So then I started looking at the political parties, and, you know, maybe I fall more on a libertarian scale if you look at something. I wouldn't call myself a conservative, but I mean, at the same time, there's strategies behind it. I've been voting straight conservative now for ever since I was allowed to vote. And it's strictly due to the fact that it's the party that relates a little bit more to my belief. I'm a gun owner. And you know what? Although they like to promise they'll scrap this and scrap that, they don't do everything they say, but they don't confiscate my guns like the liberals are doing.
Pick your poison. That's what I say to people, yeah.
I'm very pro-capitalism, very pro-enterprise. You know what? Conservatives tend to be a little bit more of that. I'm pro-freedom. I'm don't make so many regulations and let people, again, make their decisions. That's how I got involved in it. But now in terms of making videos and talking about it, that's just a fluke. Complete
That just
fluke.
happened.
Yeah, well, a year ago or a couple of years ago, I was invited on a podcast. It's a business podcast in Montreal that just interviewed business people. I run a tech company in Montreal. And me and the host, Curtis, had a great discussion. And we spoke this much about business. We just spoke about politics. But that video ranked pretty good. So he invited me back on a few months later. And again, did really good. So he's like, hey, dude, you want to start doing like a weekly show? I'm like, let's do it. And we dived into politics. And right away, I realized there's an appetite for more right-leaning, conservative voices in Canada, because the pendulum is swinging back.
Yes, I think so. I think so too.
And I feel like it's a very small group of people that are willing to stand up, because we've been villainized for so long. People are scared. You know, you hear it all the time. I have people reaching out saying, keep doing what you're doing. I think exactly like you, but I can't say it.
Man, we need those people, because I share the same sentiment, but we need those folks to use their voice, because they don't understand that the power of their voice is stronger than they think. Yeah. And the more people that are speaking about these things, like just asking questions, challenging the political narratives, like just really trying to stimulate the dialogue and go against the opposite. Because then what the left does, they'll silence you. They'll find a way to throw a pejorative at you, to say, if you dare to even come out and speak, this is what you are. We can't accept that. At
all. But the more people do it, the more it gives power and courage to others to do likewise. I mean, the last elections, I've seen people I would have never thought were on the right or conservatives come out and make a comment or post a thing about Poliev. And I was like, geez, I never knew. It just feels like they finally have the courage, because I feel like, and this is true of anyone, it's only once you're at the precipice that people truly find the will to change. And will endure and will suffer and we'll take it and take it and take it until the very end, where we just can't anymore, and then fuck it. We'll make a change, right? And I think we're at that point in Canada. And if you look at the voting record over the last elections, the Liberals won because of the Boomers. And I don't want to start pinning generations against one another, but if you look at who voted for who, the Boomers were overwhelmingly Liberal.
And the young people are supporting Conservative, which
much
never
so.
really happened.
It's brand new.
Yeah.
It's brand new. But again, it's like, my father and I have this conversation often. He's like, I can't understand why my generation keeps voting Liberals. I mean, don't they have kids? Don't they see how it impacts their kids? And I'm like, well, you know what? When you're sitting in your $2 million home that you bought for, you know, a box of Cracker Jacks,
exactly.
and when you have your cushy pension and you have your old age security and you have your CPP and you've had a good life in Canada and you have no reason to really, and you live in this little kind of like suburban oasis where all the issues with mass migrations are not truly rearing their ugly head, or ugly face, you don't realize it. So they just think, hey, Canada was good to me. I voted Liberal all my life. I'll keep voting Liberals.
It was very interesting to see, Elliot. Like, the Conservatives had a 20-point plus lead.
Yeah.
to lose that, like to your point earlier, you got to give credit to the Liberals that they are politically, strategically pretty impressive. Like that's a big, to come back, remove your leader, get a new leader, and then close that gap on a 20-point lead. How much do we hold that account to Pierre's errors?
Well, I think the Conservatives, they ran a horrible campaign, but I think Pierre was also, he kind of got maneuvered into a corner. He was between a rock and a hard place. I had this discussion. I have some friends of mine that are well connected in the Conservative Party at various levels. And I will keep them anonymous for obvious reasons, but I was having this discussion. I'm like, what's the messaging? What is he going to do? And the issue was, honestly, Trump down south.
That was a big one.
It came down to that because he kind of painted this thing of like, if Poilievre talks against Trump, he annihilates a good base of conservative supporters. They're like, you know what? I kind of like Trump. I like what he's doing. And I think we should do a bit more like him. But then if he did that and he supported Trump and said, you know what, we'll work with him, we'll be friends and we'll find a solution, then you annihilate a whole group of people who are like, no, fuck the US and fuck Trump. He was stuck in a damned if you do, damned if you don't. While Carney just took advantage of that and he kept the narrative of I'm the best guy to deal with him. We know it was bullshit because you look at today, and it's been months and we're in a worse position than we were before the election. But he managed to seize that. So it was a mix of liberal political craftiness.
Yeah, they own the media too, right? They were all pushing that narrative that Carney is the better option.
Always.
He's going to go elbows up against Donald Trump, which as we see now, that's not the case. I wonder if, looking back, Elliot, I wonder if Pierre, if he would have the ability to, if he leaned into the Trump situation.
Yeah.
If he maybe went, I'm going to go meet him.
Yeah.
I'm going to go meet him and requested to meet with him. But I don't know if that would have worked. Maybe it would have. But I think Trump genuinely wanted Mark Carney to win because they have previous business relations, I think, from New York and stuff like that. So they know each other. And he said it himself, a liberal is easier to deal with.
Absolutely.
But I don't know. I feel that he wanted him to win.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. There's another thing too, though, and I feel sadly conservatives do this time and time again. They flip-flop. And what I mean by that is, in business, my favorite book ever is called Rework. And in there, they say the best thing you can do is to polarize your users or your potential customers. You want to create super fans because the very lucrative mine that is digged very deep will earn you more than going from mine to mine and digging only shallow little mines, right? So what he's effectively saying is that you want to cater to super fans. You want to create these evangelists. So oftentimes conservatives will embolden a base and they will be very hardline on certain positions, and that gets them elected. But then right away, as soon as they get into office, they try to rally, unify the country, they say, and they start making concessions to try to bring the centrists and the liberals towards them. The reality is the liberals are never going to vote for you to begin with. All you're doing, again, is you're pissing off your base and the centrists, the independents that voted for you based on your promises. That's one thing that Trump does amazing. And you see it time and time again. He does something that seems insane and far-fetched, but you realize, guess what? That's what he promised during the campaign.
Yes.
And then his base says, that's what I voted for.
You know what the problem is? And he did campaign on everything that he's doing now. He did campaign on. But the problem is the parliamentary system. It goes back to that. Because the conservatives, if they want to win over areas like Toronto and those 25 seats, they cannot say or do, they have to concede on certain areas. And that's what makes it problematic. It's hard for, they'll change their direction based on political polling. And it leads me to my next point, because Maxime Bernier brought this up to me. He said, the Liberals and the Conservatives are two of the same. They're part of the establishment that we know as Canadian politics. Would you agree with that sentiment? What do you think about that?
No, not at face value. I think there's a lot of, call it uniparty in both parties, right? I do think that there's a lot of politicians that, my biggest strife is the fact that parties have a whip and that like parties vote in bloc, right? It's like the party vote. No, the whole parliamentary system initially was you have a member of parliament that represents a riding, a local issue.
Yes.
And they vote for their local citizens, the representative of a local population. It's not like that anymore. You vote for a party, which is kind of a perverse version of what it was initially set out to be. Now, that's my issue with both parties. But ultimately, I don't think the Conservatives and the Liberals are necessarily one and the same. There's obviously money being thrown by both sides. There's, special interest groups and influential lobbies that will lobby both sides. That's true. I think he says that, and I have much respect for him. And I know he was, a minister in the past, and he's done a great job. But right now, I think it comes from the position that he wants this party to be relevant. And obviously, he's not going to cater to liberals. Liberals will never vote for him, NDP, over their dead body.
Yes.
So he has to claw at the Conservative Party, the voter base of the Conservatives. The best way to say it is by scaring them into feeling like the liberals and the Conservatives is one and the same. I get why he's doing that. And I'm torn because I'm a big believer of like never give up. Keep fucking trying, man. If you're kicked down, get back up and do it again. You know, this perseverance is something I respect a lot. So on one side, I respect his perseverance. On the other side, I'm like, dude, your shit ain't working. It's just going down and down. Every election just gets worse and worse.
Well, this last one, because he mentioned he thinks that it was because of the Trump situation.
It could
that
be.
It was between the two of them. But I don't think if Canadians almost voted Liberals as a majority again after 10 years of getting destroyed by the Liberal Party, they're 100% not ready for the PPC.
And that's the thing. It's like at one point again, and I hate that, don't blame a bunch of other people. Take accountability again. Take ownership. You failed. You have no elected MPs in Parliament. Just maybe at this point, it would be strategic for you to rally back with the Conservatives, get a government elected, start delivering and showing Canadians the potency, the power of right-leaning ideologies, of conservative ideologies. And then from there, once we're in an upswing, then you can slowly shift what we call the Overton window towards more PPC level politics. But right now you're trying to jump from a fairly left-leaning spectrum all the way to you. It ain't working. So strategically, I completely disagree with what he says. I don't think it's true. I get why he says it, and I respect his perseverance as a man, as an individual, utmost respect for him. But I think he's hurting Canada, and perhaps is caused too by not shifting the strategy, at least in the short term, over the next 10 years or so.
That's totally fair. And the other thing I find very interesting too, this kind of ties in with dealing with Trump, is how the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, doesn't get along with Pierre Poilievre, or there was these certain optics in the last election where he's having lattes with Mark Carney and posting photo ops with Chrystia Freeland, which is very strange. In my opinion, I'm more of like come from the sports background too. Like if we're together, we're together. We both represent conservative. Let's both represent conservative on all levels. But he doesn't seem to share that sentiment. I heard things that he didn't even meet Pierre Poilievre before that election, which is insane to me. That's very insane. But speaking on Doug Ford, of course, the other day, he invested $75 billion of taxpayer dollars into this campaign to run through the states, advertisement specifically, to, I don't know what is to influence the Republican voters or the citizens of the United States to see how bad tariffs are.
Yeah.
I have to get your opinion on it. What do you think about it? I saw you made a video about it.
I made a video. I'm just shocked that Canada is in the propaganda business now, because it's what it is.
They
100%.
altered the video, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. They altered the video. They took out the section where Reagan actually speaks of the necessity of tariffs at times to punish or to counteract disloyal practices. So, I mean, that is deceitful. But most importantly, again, let's flip it around. How would Canadians react if the Trump government took out an ad in the Toronto Star or the CBC quoting Sir John A. Macdonald in Parliament saying how letting in Chinese nationals would be detrimental to the continued Aryan future of British North America? I mean, we'd be like, what the fuck? Right? We'd be like, wait a second. Was our leader a racist or something? You know, you're using the public words of another former elected official in a different time to try to sway today's public opinion. That, again, is propaganda and is messed up. That is at least foreign interference.
And that was a lot of money, Elliot. $75 million is insane of our taxpaying dollars.
And it's
in
not
Ontario.
like we're swimming in cash
Yeah.
in any provinces right now, right?
How did it even cost that much? I guess because the foreign fee, whatever.
The ad and everything. I mean, well, again, governments are horrible at managing money. They're just purely horrible. I mean,
That's terrible.
Oh, it's horrible. And when I saw that, I was pissed off. I'm like, no wonder Trump reacted this way. Now, a lot of Canadians are just like, yeah, well, fuck MAGA, fuck Trump. I'm like, guys, this entire thing of always trying to bash, America, just come to the realization that 74-ish% of our economy is based on exports to the US.
Yeah, we need
period.
them at the end of the day. Whether you like it or not, you need the guy.
We need the US. If tomorrow really the US wanted to go scorched earth, they could just shut off the pipelines and completely close up the trade barrier. And I mean, like, seal the barrier, the border, done. The US would suffer a bit, of course. They would. Canada would be dead in 48 hours. We just do not have the ability to survive without them. And we keep saying, yeah, but we send them water and energy. Yeah, because we sell it to them cheaper than they could get at home. But they have energy independence. They have water. They have access to the Great Lakes as much as we do. I mean, they're fine. And may I add, they're also the biggest fucking military in the world. I mean, we have no chance in fighting them. What we can do, however, is cooperate, as we have for centuries. What's this whole anti-American sentiment all of a sudden?
Yes, and that's fueled from the liberal propaganda machine that we know as the media.
Yes.
And they really played off of that to get this election, which they did successfully, Elliot. They did.
They did, and it works. And I mean, kudos to you and people, like us who try to spread a message, because mainstream media is absolutely co-opted.
Yes.
It's sad because, again, a lot of people just don't realize it. The only solace I have is the fact that it's mostly boomers again that watch mainstream media, and sadly, there are less and less of them by the day. Mm-hmm. But it should not get to that point.
The future looks bright, though, as Patrick Bet-David would say, because, like you said, the overwhelming representation of support for conservatives is young people right now, and they eventually will get older. So hopefully we stay strong on that. Before I end here, I've been really paying attention to this sentiment growing on the right, especially in American politics, that Israel in general is really involved with AIPAC and the financial influences, and they sort of dictate the movements of government. I've been paying attention to like the Nick Fuentes types and these types of individuals that are talking about Israel being behind a lot of the struggles and problems that we have in the West. Have you been paying attention to this all? I've just been curious to talk about it.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Israel is an interesting beast. It feels like it's the sacred cow that you can't quite talk about.
Right, isn't it? Yeah,
it really does feel that way.
I've been noticing that.
Very, very much so. I mean, oddly enough, all I'll say is this on that topic is that there's no other first world nation, developed nation, rich nation that receives tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars per year in foreign aid as Israel does from the United States.
Their biggest recipient of foreign aid from the United States. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And I just wonder why. Now, some people will say, it's because, in the Middle East, they are this kind of balancing power and it's needed.
And that is the point that they make.
That is the point that they make, but do they need the foreign aid at this point? I mean, initially when it was a new nation that needed to be protected and defended and growing, sure, but they're doing better economically than the U.S. does in most cases. Again, it's like, and does the U.S. receive money from anyone? They never do. They're always giving it away. So I don't know. And then again, you can look, and you can dive deep. You look at Congress and, how many of them, again, hold dual citizenship, mostly from one country. Mm-hmm. Again, where's your allegiance?
That's where the question comes in often. And that's the point that these folks are making on the right in the United States is, are you loyal to Israel or are you loyal to the United States? That's where the question, and I think that even asking the question itself is causing controversy. It's very interesting to see how it's unfolding.
It does. And look, ultimately, I'm not going to, take a stance on whether Israel is good or bad, if they should exist or not, are they war criminals or not. That's way above my pay grade, to be honest with you, and I feel like that is way too divisive. But do I feel like they influence the U.S.? Absolutely. Is that okay? No. Why is AIPAC one of the biggest lobby and the biggest lobby in the U.S. and yet is not registered as a foreign agent?
Yeah, they talk about that too.
Why? It just seems like it's there's two sets of rules, the one that applies to Israel and the one that applies to everyone else all the time, everywhere. And it just makes one question. And it leads to people having conspiracy theories as well. But I mean, again, people are not that dumb. They see all the rules that apply to everyone, but then the rules are different for thee.
If they're paying attention, right?
If they're paying attention.
And that's where it comes down to is loyalty and pride, and sort of encapsulates the conversation that we've had today, where we hope to reestablish the Canadian pride and the allegiance to this country first and putting Canada first, which I've been asking my guests. I want to ask you too, are you proud to be Canadian?
No.
No,
I'm not proud.
you're not proud to be Canadian.
I'm not proud to be Canadian.
What's the reason, Elliot?
You know, we're a nation that stands for nothing. We have this self-righteousness that masquerades as virtue. But yet, we have this kind of nose up in the air, pompous arrogance. We keep saying all the time, we're not America. We're better than them. That's what we keep shouting. That's our only differentiating factor, by the way. But are we? All I see around me, to be honest, is mediocrity that's being exuded. The second you dare point out that another country is doing better than Canada, you're told to shut the fuck up and just appreciate the fact that you have what you have. That's how things rot away. That's how mediocrity sets in. It's a cancer. You know, we used to be pioneers, explorers, adventurers, risk takers. We used to strive, truly strive for more. But all we have left now is suicidal empathy. We cheers whenever we watch a hockey game, when someone's singing our national anthem, when our national anthem actually is sung by foreigners in a strange language on our own soil. No, I'm not proud to be Canadian anymore, man. Used to be. When I grew up and I watched Team Canada play junior Team Canada or Olympics Team Canada, when I saw neighbors helping one another, families smiling in the park. We've gone from a high trust society where you could leave your front door unlocked to a low trust society. There's a park in front of my house. I used to go there all the time. And there's rules like no barbecue open air. And I remember when I was younger, I tried to do it and I got a fine. I got slapped on the wrist by the public security because I was not supposed to do that. But now every Sunday, the entire park is taken over by immigrant families, 20, 30, barbecuing, open pit, open flames, disregarding the rules. And there's cops, they don't do anything. Is it because they're scared of being chastised, being called racist, being fired even? I don't know. But they don't do anything. It's created a two-tier society. Can we save it? I hope so. I have a young son. I want him to grow up in a Canada that has as many opportunities that I had growing up and that my parents had growing up. But is that the path we're on today? No. So no, I'm not proud to be Canadian today.
Do you think that could change?
Yeah. I think there's nothing in life that is immutable. Societies, change with the ebbs and flows, but it requires people to stand up. I mean, it's not the first time we face struggle. We've gone through world wars. We've gone through famines. We've gone through just building this country. It was a untamed, wild land. I mean, my ancestors came on boats from France. They were some of the first settlers. The winters were harsh. Plenty of people died. We all overcame that to build an amazing nation of, again, like I said, like true pioneers. It's in our blood. I think we can go back to it, but not on the path we're on, and people are going to have to take ownership and to, it's Churchill who said this. He said, courage is the first, how did he say it? I wrote it down. He says it in this British kind of way.
He's got some good quotes, doesn't he?
Oh, God, Churchill is good stuff. But he says, courage is rightly esteemed the first of human qualities, because it is the quality which guarantees all others. So yeah, man, we're going to need to be courageous if we want to get through this.
And I'm hoping that conversations like this and conversations like that we're having on your podcast, on my podcast, it can really just challenge the narratives, like the way you've been doing and the way we've sort of been fed and told the way to think. I'm hoping that change is among us and that we can reestablish that Canadian pride, because you know what? That was a very powerful statement that you made. And I would say, unfortunately, a lot of Canadians agree. Unfortunately, they do.
Step number one, though, is allowing discord.
Yes.
Or discourse.
Discourse, yes.
Discourse, sorry. Discord is as an
Discouraging.
allow that as well, but don't ban that with C9 and C8, please. We need it. But no, discourse. Step number one is accepting the fact that people see things differently. I don't hate the liberals. I don't hate Carney. I don't hate Trudeau. I think maybe they believe they're doing the right thing. But ultimately, I want to be free to say what I need to say without being chastised or vilified for it.
Yes.
And I want to give the same right and ability to everyone else. And through talking, through mutual understanding, I really do believe this, by the way. I believe that if we remove all the fluff and all the influence we receive, you take a diehard liberal and a diehard conservative and you sit them down in a room, a bit like what we're doing right now, and you allow them to talk and give them the time to get over the barriers, the walls they put up. Really let them talk. They'll realize they have a heck of a lot more in common than they think. And ultimately, they just want things to be good. They go about it differently, but they want things to be good. So we can work together to make things good.
I love that. And this is an open invitation to liberals too. I want you guys to come on the podcast here. 100%. I'm inviting everybody. Lastly here, just very quickly before I wrap up, we're a little bit over time, but it has been an amazing time talking with you, man. It's been really great. I have a final segment on Couple Casuals podcast I call Salute. Sort of stems from the Italian heritage where we give a nice cheers. So I give an opportunity to the guests to just end us off with a quote, just to saying something you feel called to say, whatever you want. Just end us off here, Elliot. All the way from Montreal.
All the way to Montreal.
Just don't bash Toronto anymore, please.
I've done enough of that. Oh, God. Okay, I'll take the words of Elon Musk, actually. A government that prioritizes foreigners over their own citizens are, by all accounts, treasonous and illegitimate. It's just important that we start taking care of our own. And if we do that, I think Canada can thrive once again. And then when we're thriving, we can help the rest of the world. So, cheers to that. Santé.
Santé.
Salud.
Thank you so much, Elliot. I really appreciate you. Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate the time. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here in Toronto. I know it's a little bit short, but you got lots of interesting things to see in the city, to say the least, man.
Going to crumble cookies.
There you go. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate all of you guys. Until next time, I love everybody else. Ciao.